Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
You're now listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunel.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
Do you believe that life is wonderful in principle, but for some reason just isn't so consistently in practice? Every life will have its ups and downs. But have you ever thought that if there were only more people around you encouraging, uplifting, and even inspiring you, then life would be more fulfilling? If only people like George and Mary Bailey were in your inner circle, then life could truly be wonderful all the time? If so, we've got good news for you, because you can find such people on this podcast and at zuzunetwork.com. This podcast is the vision of Karolyn Grimes, Zuzu, and Dr. Chris Brunel, illustrating how the timeless message of It's a Wonderful Life can be and is applied to our modern lives and situations. Indeed, when you take that message to heart, your life will become immeasurably more wonderful. Visit us at zuzunetwork.com and listen to this podcast series to learn more about how. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy another episode of Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Hello, everybody. We've got a treat for you today. We're joined by Rabbi Yitz Wyne, author of Life is Great, and the host of the radio show, The Rabbi Show, and the founder of Young Israel, Aish, Las Vegas. He's written a book, Life is Great, Revealing the 7 Secrets to a More Joyful You, which you can get on Amazon.
I'm looking forward to this.
I am too.
It's going to be very interesting. And you know what?
What's that?
I think I have to get this book, and I have to learn more how to be a more joyful me.
You can never be joyful enough.
I guess not.
There's so much to be thankful for as well. So,
Well, we're going to find out about that coming up.
all right.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu. All grown up.
Joining us today from Las Vegas is Rabbi and author Yitz Wyne, who wrote a book called Life is Great, and indeed it is a great and wonderful life. This should be an incredible interview. Karolyn, let's dive in. And Rabbi Wyne, welcome to the show.
Today we have a very special guest I can't wait to talk to. His name is Yitz Wyne, and he's a rabbi, and he is the author of the book Life is Great, Revealing the 7 Secrets to a More Joyful You. I'm so glad you're here to join us, and you live in Las Vegas.
Yes, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share some thoughts with you and your audience today. Appreciate it.
I've looked at some of the things in your book, and it's very positive. And I'm so impressed with that.
Thank you.
You have a community now in Las Vegas. How long have you been there?
So my wife and I moved here about 30 years ago. I was the assistant rabbi in Edmonton, Canada, where I'm from. And I received a phone call from this fellow, Rabbi Nate Siegel, at an organization that oversees Jewish day schools around the country. And he said, Rabbi Wyne, have you ever thought about going to Vegas? And I said, what the heck is in Vegas? And he said, there's 70,000 Jews and nothing going on. No infrastructure, no Jewish schools, no kosher markets, no, proper synagogues. So I came down, I looked around, And sure enough, it was an opportunity to build the infrastructure in a Jewish community where there was none. Our eldest was at the time 3 years old. And so we took a gamble and we came out here, and thank God it's been a marvelous, marvelous experience.
So you knew that maybe Las Vegas would be where you want to spend your life.
Yeah, listen, I think that most people, people who strive after just to be happy, a lot of times if you're pursuing happiness, you end up really pursuing fun. Those are fleeting moments. There's a big difference between living a happy, joyful life and experiencing fun. Where people's real life satisfaction comes from, I believe, and it's certainly true with me, is the ability to be engaged in something meaningful and purposeful, something that where you're bringing benefit to others. So here was a tremendous opportunity for my wife and I to literally start a community where there was not. And in the process, as years go on, it exponentially grows, and you exponentially have a positive influence on many people's lives. So that's one of our deepest pleasures, I think, that every human being has and can have. So I found kind of this path. Everyone has a slightly different path, but this was mine, and it's been wonderful.
You're the one that sort of created the kosher infrastructure for all these people that have moved there now. I looked at your video and they're happy. They love it there. There's so many pluses for living there.
Yeah, thank God. There really is. It's a tremendous thing. If a person is committed to a Jewish life, they need a synagogue, they need schools, they need kosher restaurants, they need all sorts of things that are going on in addition to the normal stuff that every person needs. It's been beautiful to be part of the process of building all these things.
Okay, let's go back to you. Can you share your role as rabbi and how you decided to make this your life's choice?
When I was younger, I grew up in Edmonton. I was not an Orthodox. I mean, now I'm an Orthodox rabbi, but I was not ritually observant. I don't know if Karolyn, have you ever met a rabbi before?
Oh, sure, yes.
Okay, there you go. Okay, great, awesome. So it's amazing. I always ask people, "Have you ever met a rabbi before?" And they're like, "Oh, I mean, if they grow up in New York, then they say yes." But other than that, many times, like, I'm their first. It's great to be their first. So the idea is, when I grew up, I was not ritually observant, was not keeping kosher. I knew I was Jewish. We knew the kind of the stuff. My grandparents were more ritually observant, more Orthodox. I had this little fantasy. I love sports, and my father always said, when it comes to making a living, find something you love to do and you'll figure out how to make a living doing it. So I always loved sports, and I was involved with many, many athletic activities. And I had this thought I wanted to coach an NCAA basketball championship. And I figured that if I would do that, I would really be able to have a voice. After high school, I was thinking, I don't want to go to school and then school and school. And my father took me to Israel a few years earlier, when I was, 15 years old. I had the most amazing experience when I was in Israel. I looked around. I couldn't speak the language. I didn't look like anybody. It was a totally foreign nation. And this is going back in the early 80s. So it really was not what it is today. It really was not. And I looked around all these people and I said, somehow they're my family. And I was drawn to it. So I said to my dad, after high school, I'm registered to go to university and enrolled. And I said, instead of going to school, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just take a couple months and go travel. And I was wondering if you send me to Israel. And he said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll go to Israel for a couple months." So when I was there, I went to I had some friends at the Hebrew University and their junior year abroad. I connected with them and met for the first time these rabbis that were incredibly insightful and very, very incredibly wise, insightful. I never met such individuals. And I started studying with them. And then I decided to extend my trip. And one of the reasons I extended my trip was because I was evaluating everything that I knew in my life. And I called my father, and when I asked him to free university for me, I said, "I know what it is to be a Jew, a secular Jew. I don't know what it means to be a Torah Jew. I know that if a person is following the laws in the Torah, it really does affect, how you view things, who you marry, what you do it affects every area of your life. I feel this is a watershed moment in my life, and I want to take time to examine the issues that are pertinent." And, I listen, I always believed in God. but I wasn't sure, what was the significance of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses and the accompanying traditions, what role is that? Is it really true? Is it the same Torah we have today that was given 3,300 years ago? Is it applicable? I had a friend of mine who, we'd go out for pizza and she kept kosher. Her version of keeping kosher was not having pepperoni on the cheese pizza. Some people would say to me, like, why don't you keep kosher? I said, I would. It's not practical. I had nothing against it, but it was really not what was it about for me. I didn't really understand the value to it. So I said, let me take some time and understand the value. Well, in that ensuing 6 months, I decided that, yes, I knew there was a God. God gave the Torah to the Jewish people. It's something very special about being Jewish. I saw, for the first time in my life, I remember I saw families that really were functional, that were really very, very powerful. And that was very impressive to me. And, listen, religion doesn't guarantee anything in life. The laws of the Torah, they don't guarantee you're going to have a great marriage, but they give you the structure that if that's what you're motivated towards, you're going to do it. They don't guarantee that you'll be successful in raising wonderful children, but it gives you a structure that you've got a real good shot at it if that's your goal. And so, though family was a big goal of mine, and I said, this is the life I want. So then I said, okay, I need another year to study Torah, understand the Almighty's instructions for living. So I came back for that second year. And in that year, I came to the conclusion of something that is incorrect. My conclusion was that the Torah itself is so powerful that you don't even need to be a good educator to teach God's word and have a profoundly positive influence on people's lives. What is incorrect about that statement is you still need to be a good educator. But I only knew good educators. I only met brilliant people. I didn't know any lousy rabbis. To me, there's such a thing did not exist. That was beyond my exposure. Okay, so now 30 years later, I know the difference between a good rabbi and a bad rabbi. But the bottom line is my goal was I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to have a positive influence on people's lives. And I found that being a rabbi, learning the Torah, learning the Almighty's Torah, his instructions for living, that gave me a structure and ability in order to do that. That is why I became a rabbi. It is truly a calling and something that allows me to bring a lot of goodness to a lot of people.
Absolutely. It's beautiful the way you came to that decision. You had a lot of experience in the world, yet you chose this path for you to take. I think it's wonderful. And then you land in Vegas and you end up making it possible for people who are in Hebrew, they come to that area. So, I mean, do you feel like a Moses?
No.
Okay.
It's so funny. I met someone at the gym yesterday. It was the kindest thing. And they said they're walking down the stairs and smiling, say hi. And I'm like, I think they know me. So I'm like, hi, kind of like, oh, okay. And then I realized, okay, they don't know me and I don't know them. But they said to me that they saw me walking the other day with just a happy demeanor. And they said it was the way you were walking, like going like from one exercise part to another. And they said, I have to meet this person just because they're obviously exuding happiness, which I took as a tremendous, beautiful, beautiful compliment. And then I explained to the person, yeah, I'm a rabbi and whatnot. They said, wow, do you feel the pressure? Like, people are always watching you. And I have friends who do feel that pressure and friends that have not stayed in the rabbinate because of it. But I have never taken that upon myself. I've always said, listen, I walk before the Almighty and I want to live a great life. And God willing, I'll live a great life. So I'll just keep learning Torah, teaching Torah, trying to help as many people as I can, staying focused on working on it. And the person asked a very insightful question. That they said, have you always been happy? And I said, yes, I've always been happier than most people. Living a joyful life is a spiritual accomplishment. And I work on it every day. It's a satisfying thing to actually work on your mood and work on behaving in a happy way. And it is an accomplishment.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
As an educator, Mr. Nelson's teachings are still being quoted in schools.
Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
Mr. Nelson taught hope.
Everyone can rise above their circumstances if they are dedicated and passionate.
And giving our best efforts.
It's always impossible until it's done.
Mr. Nelson Mandela's teachings not only united a nation, they inspire us today. Inspiration. Pass it on from passiton.com.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at ZuzuNetwork.com and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at ZuzuNetwork.com/shop.
Are you wondering whether to sell or donate the car you no longer need or want? Consider that. Donating it to a legitimate, legally recognized nonprofit organization, not only will you receive a tax deduction, but you'll be contributing to a worthy cause. Finding a worthy nonprofit organization can be time-consuming and even a bit stressful. I'm here to present to you one of the most amazing, legitimate 501c3 nonprofit organizations in the world. The United Breast Cancer Foundation. The UBCF provides screenings, treatments, aftercare services, educational materials, as well as patient and family assistance. We ask that you help in that mission by donating your unwanted or unused vehicle to the UBCF. Simply call 888-842-5505. The process is fast and easy. Call 888-842-5505. 888-842-5505. Help us in our mission and get a tax deduction. Call 888-842-5505. Thank you for your support.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With private healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, give us a call at 800-683-4655. That's 800-863-4655. 800-683-4655.
A careless driver can change your life in an instant. Do you know what to do or who to call? If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident and don't have an attorney, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free consultation. We can answer all of your questions and estimate the potential value of your case. Call Auto Accident Help Desk and connect with an expert personal injury attorney.
Call 800-297-9766. 800-297-9766.
Don't worry how to handle your medical bills, lost wages, and pain. We will get you the money you deserve.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
The consultation is free, and you don't pay any legal fees unless we win or settle your case. Make the smart call if you've been injured in an auto accident. Call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free legal consultation.
Call 800-297-9766. 800-297-9766. 800-297-9766.
Auto Accident Help Desk.
Join Zuzu's network today at ZuzuNetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at ZuzuNetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
And the reason I took their words such a compliment was because I shared with them that several years ago I was at the Las Vegas outlet mall and I walked outside of a store and I hung a quick left. And you walk to the left, there's a very big mirror. And I saw myself in the mirror. And I asked myself, I was thinking about various things. And I said, if someone were to see the picture of that person in the mirror, would they assume that they are in a joyful state or not? And I immediately snapped out of it, put a smile on my face, and a pep in my step. Because when we are happy, happier people make the world a better place. And if you're not in a good state of being, at least you should act like you're in a good state of being, because you will make the world more pleasant for everyone else. You'll elevate them. You'll lift others. Being in a happy mood and a good mood, that it's very contagious, as is being in a sour mood, which is very contagious as well. I think most everyone who's going to listen to your program is, can think of at least many instances where they came into contact with someone that was in a lousy mood and it ruined their day. It actually affected them in a bad way. We have that ability and that power if we put ourselves into a good mood, into a good state. We can do that.
Yes, we have that ability within us, that's for sure. Now, you've written a book, and you say life is great, and you've said that a number of times when you just talked.
Right.
Your life is so busy. I have to say, I looked at the YouTube of all the people that were interviewed, your community, and you have grocery stores, you have all kinds of things now that support a Hebrew community, which I think has grown a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
There's something for everyone. I'm really impressed with that. And you might be the start. So you could be a Moses.
Okay. Could be.
What's the main point of your book, Life is Great?
The main point is to enable people to live a better life. There's one of the books that I'm very fond of. I recommend that people read. It's a great book on happiness. Is from Dennis Prager. The title of the book is Happiness is a Serious Problem, because it is a problem. It's difficult for people, and there's not a lot of people that are happy. And the essence of his book is that it is human nature. In order to live a happy life, you have to override human nature. You have to learn how to battle your nature. So my book is different in the respect that I like to ride with human nature, that I think everyone has moments, you have peaks and valleys in every day. And if we know just certain fundamental pieces of Jewish wisdom, you can shorten the valleys and maintain the highs much longer. If a person were to think, think of a mountain and a valley, right? And sometimes you're on the top of the mountain, sometimes you're in the valley. So very often you're like in the middle ground. You're not in the mountain nor in the valley. I think with the right amount, just a few pieces of Jewish wisdom, you can lift your state of happiness up a little, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, whatever it is in elevation, right? And stay above in that a little higher, longer. And when you do dip down, everyone's going to dip down sometimes. So the key is to get out of that quickly in an authentic way, not to fake it, but to be able to lift yourself. And that when things are good, to maintain that. So really, I think if a person goes through my book, they will come. Life is Great, revealing the 7 secrets, to a more joyful you. I think they will allow themselves to live a happier, a better life. I specifically wrote the book as an easy read. I remember growing up every day, reading the sports page. I was not interested in, when I was in, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, I'm not very interested in reading anything except for the sports page. Okay. So things should be written on a level, on an ease of reading, like the USA Today sports page. Things should flow. It should not be difficult. Sometimes authors are trying to prove to their audience how smart they are. Think I'm smart, think I'm simple. As long as your life is better, I don't care what you think. So it's an easy read. It's something that's great for a plane, great for, a few minutes, laying in bed.
But can you tell us, revealing the 7 secrets to a more joyful you?
One point that it's important to recognize is that happiness is not a happening. I think in Western society, we view it that, if good things happen to you, you're happy. And if bad things happen to you, you're not so happy. That's not exactly accurate. When was the last time you were at a wedding and, you should be happy, but you're not happy? Well, you're at a wedding. It's not to be happy. Well, there's always some reason to get in the way. Maybe your neck is hurting. You spilled some wine on your suit, your dress, whatever, so-and-so didn't smile at you. There's always a reason not to be if you don't want. So Judaism's approach is that happiness is an obligation. First and foremost, it's an obligation to ourselves. It's an obligation that, happier people live longer. They make more money. They're healthier. They have better relationships. Okay. Happiness is, so if you make a decision to be happy, right? If you somehow go into a more joyful state, that's an obligation to yourself. We have an obligation to live the best life we can live. The next one is not only is it an obligation to yourself, it's an obligation to others. You only have to speak with a person who grew up in an unhappy home. His mother was yelling and screaming a lot, whatnot. Or someone's, they're in a bad marriage because their spouse is miserable. Or you work for a boss who's like overly demanding and like miserable. They have a way of wrecking your day or more. So we have an obligation to others when we come into contact with others to be happy, at least to act as happy as we possibly can. And perhaps more importantly is you have an obligation to God. It says in the Torah, in Psalms, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, you should serve the Almighty with joy. We find that the Almighty writes in the book of Numbers, a listing of all sorts of terrible things that happen to the Jewish people. And the reason that is given that all sorts of terrible curses would happen to the Jewish people, he says, is because you did not serve me with joy when things were good. It doesn't say you didn't serve me. It doesn't say you didn't do the commandments. It means you didn't serve me with joy. And when things were good. In other words, sometimes people do what they got to do. You got your 10 commandments. I got to honor my mother. Right. Okay. She asked me to take the garbage out. Okay. I'll fine. I'll take it out. I'll honor her. I'll do what she wants. But if you do it with a scowl on your face, it's like you're punching your mother in your stomach, right? Like it's not a good thing. We have to recognize that it's so important to not only do the right thing, but do the right thing in a happy way. So I think that is really the key here. The next aspect is that, so Karolyn, I think if people were to focus that happiness is an obligation to oneself, to others, and to the Almighty, so then you have to stop and say, how can I fulfill that obligation? And I think one of the things is you have to realize that way more happiness is in your decision process. If it's an obligation, that means you have to do it. God does not command us to do things that we cannot do. Okay. You love your kids, right? You're not going to command your children to do things that is, it's not able to do, right? So that's the story. So the Almighty commands us, the Torah, you got to be happy. You got to be at least act as happy as you can. We're able to do it. So how do you do it? You decide to do it. You make a decision to do things that will make you happier and to live with particular attitudes that will increase your joyfulness, throughout the day. So that is how I start the book, with that basic explanation. And then you're going into the various pieces of attitudes and wisdoms that help you do that.
So a lot of self-work.
It's a life's work. It is a life's work to live as joyfully as you possibly can. We speak in terms of, if I had a magic wand and I said, I'm going to bring one thing into the world that would, more of one thing in the world, I wouldn't bring more money and I wouldn't bring more technology and I wouldn't bring cure for cancer is great. No, there's a lot of things in the running. Okay. But I'd bring gratitude. That if people had gratitude, if they could recognize the good that others do for them and of course, connect it with the Almighty, connect it with how God is really bestowing the good upon us through other people. When we do that, I mean, that is the first step to a real tremendous fulfilling life. Just our ability to be grateful for all the myriad of kindnesses that have been and are being bestowed upon us at all times.
But it takes work to think about those and to remember them and to bring them to the forefront, don't you think?
It does. So Karolyn, let me ask you a question. What is the opposite of pain?
No pain, pleasure.
Oh, okay. So a lot of people say that, right? So I would share with you that the opposite of pain, the opposite of pain is no pain. The opposite of pain is comfort. So what most people do is they think the opposite of pain is pleasure, but the opposite of pain is not pleasure. The opposite of pain is no pain. It's comfort. If you want pleasure You've got to work for it. And if you look at everything in your life that has been meaningful and purposeful, it has taken effort and work in order to get to it. Vince Lombardi said, no pain, no gain, right? You got to remember that one, right? So King Solomon writes a little differently. He writes in Proverbs, he says, according to the effort is the reward. So I would say that anyone who thinks that being happy is easy, they don't understand what happiness is. Anyone who thinks that living a joyful, pleasurable life is easy, no, it's not true. It's not easy. It does take work, but just because it takes work doesn't mean that it's bad. It's the opposite. You know, if someone were to walk you, you walk in and say, I like your smile, I'm giving you $1 billion. You know what's going to happen to that person and that $1 billion? 9 times out of 10, they're going to lose that money, and that money's going to ruin them, right? That's what happens. Right? Look at all the statistics of all the people who win lotteries, right? But a person who stops says, no, I'm going to work for the money, plug away at it, got a strategy, I'll get them educated, I'll meet the right people, I'll do this. They get it, they enjoy it, they're more responsible with it. It does something great for them. So they understand the value of it. If you understand the value of living with gratitude, the value of being happy, and you work towards it, you actually work towards it, you appreciate it, it's something that holds on to you. You can hold on to it. I always say that if any parent wants to raise an unhappy child, go raise them with the attitude that you want to give them whatever you can in order to make them happy. If you give them everything you can because you want to make them happy, they will be miserable, right? But if you stop and you say, listen, I'm going to teach you to be grateful, say thank you, say please. You want an accomplishment, okay, you're going to work for it. When they work for it, they get the self-esteem, they get the self-respect because they accomplish it themselves. So yeah, living a joyful life, it takes work. It takes work, for sure.
If someone wanted to increase the amount of gratitude in their life, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, they would start and they would, I'd say you start with a gratitude journal. Yeah. First, have to know what the gratitude's going to do for you, right? That's the first. You got to understand what it's going to do. Gratitude is the mother of the 2 most important things of goodness and happiness. There's no such thing as a good person that does not have gratitude. Any person who's an evil person, a bad person, trying to speak badly about other people, steal from other people, cause other people harm, those are not people. They're not happy people. They're not people who are grateful. Grateful people recognize the goodness that others are giving them. So that is the key to gratefulness. Every day, stop and count your blessings. And the way I tell people they should do a gratitude journal. They should, you start off and you write, make a list of 5 things you're grateful for today, and every day add 3 new things. Okay. So as you do that, you just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. So you're reviewing all these things you can't repeat. And at the beginning, you start off saying my health, but then you get a little more into nitty gritties. You start saying, I got my hands, my feet, whatever. Eventually we get down to things like my cholesterol level is okay. My blood sugar is good. In other words, you get nitty gritty because the list keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And you're reviewing all these blessings that you have every single day. I would say that's the first thing. Another thing is you have to recognize that when people are kind to you, you recognize that you owe them. And that's not a bad thing. One of the first quotes in my book, the only person you should try and get even with is the person who has helped you, right? If we spend our time trying to do more kindness for others and bring more benefit to others than they are doing for us, you will be a very, very happy person. As a matter of fact, one of the great things to get out of a funk is to start doing things for other people. And when you do that, you shouldn't be shy about it. You should tell people, I'm helping others. That's a good thing because that inspires others to help others. Very sad. Recently, a friend of mine, his wife of many, many years passed away. And he's super, super sad. After about a month, I turned to him and I said, listen, you got to start. He goes, what am I supposed to do now? I don't have my wife. I said, you've got to start helping people. You got to start doing more to help others. And he's like, I can barely help myself. How am I going to help others? Well, got news for you, kid. When you help others, you're no longer focused on your own pain, suffering. And that is that's the blessing. That is the true blessing. Because once you're helping others, you bring benefit to others, you'll be grateful for what you have. If you want a deeper step, you can start thanking the Almighty for other people's kindness. See, Karolyn, you did a wonderful thing for me. You know, your producer, Kevin, called me. He said, listen, would you spend some time with Karolyn, share some ideas about happiness? Somebody's going to hear this, and someone's life is going to be better, right?
That's
and
right.
you and I and Kevin, we all have a share in making that person's life better. What a marvelous thing. So when you go to sleep at night and you say, wow, I'm making people's lives better. I don't even know who they are, but I know it's happening. So you feel good about yourself. You feel you've accomplished something good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what leads to a profoundly happy life.
Okay, I have to share with you. I had a son who took his own life when he was 18. And it was absolutely devastating to me. I stayed at home for weeks, wouldn't go out and see people. It was awful. But there was this priest. I did a lot of volunteer work, and this priest called me and he said, you got to come back and help. You've got to come back and help. We need it. And it was at his school. So there would be a lot of his friends there. And of course I kept saying, no, I couldn't do it. And he finally twisted my arm and said, come back and do what you did before. Try it one day. I went back one day and I just stepped into that situation and helping others and doing the job, volunteering I had before. I felt so much better. It started to heal me. And so then I started volunteering more. I sang for nursing homes. I did all kinds of things. And it truly did heal me. It made me feel so much better. And, you know, I'll always hurt for that lost space in there that I lost my son. But to do things for other people is so healing. Like you said.
It really is. I would say that priest gave you such wise advice. My sorrow, my condolences for the experience that you went through and probably continue to go through on a daily basis, because that is certainly losing one's child is something that is devastating on the long term. That's what we're created for. The Almighty created us in order to bring goodness into the world. And when we're doing what we're created to do, things work for us. Our soul works. We connect. When we go into the shell and we're not doing what we're created to do, so then all of a sudden things get worse and worse and worse. And that is really the dynamic that's going on over here.
Do you have any specific suggestions for people who are having trouble finding joy or being grateful for what they have?
I think doing a gratitude journal is marvelous.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode, and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This is an important announcement for anyone who wants health insurance, even if you missed the deadline. Right now, you can get the health insurance you and your family need from top insurance providers, even if you have pre-existing conditions or no insurance at all. The Plus Benefits Health Insurance toll-free number has been extended to help anyone who wants health insurance coverage now, or if you need a better plan or a lower price. Call Plus Benefits Health Insurance now at 800-332-1993. The call is 100% free and the help is real. Call 800-332-1993. That's 800-332-1993.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, Guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-288-7088, 888-288-7088. Sponsored by GP Agency Inc., Raleigh, NC. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult your financial professional before making an investment decision.
1 out of 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. And the chances are you know at least one person who's been personally affected. But right now, you can help. It's simple. Donate your unwanted vehicle, RV, or trailer to the United Breast Cancer Foundation. It's the easiest way to contribute to one of the nation's leading charitable organizations. The process is fast, easy, and free. Not only will you be helping, but you'll also receive a tax deduction. The United Breast Cancer Foundation offers an array of programs and services that help and support families and individuals dealing with breast cancer. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. Simply give us a call to get started, and we'll schedule a pickup date that is convenient for you. If you have any questions you would like answered before initiating the donation process, please feel free to call us toll-free at 800-324-6218. That's 800-324-6218. 800-324-6218.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club. Today's episode's book club selection is Life is Great, Revealing the 7 Secrets to a More Joyful You by today's guest, Rabbi Yitz Wyne. It's especially written for the happy and soon to be happier, providing the right combination of wisdom and skills in order to live a more joyful life. This book will teach you how to become a happier person and will empower you to make the lives of others better as well. It will help you unlock the chains that are holding you back from living a happy, more productive life. Life is Great by author Rabbi Yitz Wyne.
This is Zuzu, all grown up.
Every day, write down, if you start off with a little buffer on the list, every day write down a few more things that you are grateful for. Don't repeat. Go through this for a month, okay? That's number one. Not everyone is spiritual. People have different aptitudes for everything. They have different aptitudes for happiness. Right? There is like you have a weight set point. Like you're always always a certain weight, up or down a few, 5 pounds, whatever, and it's real hard to get down beneath that other weight or raise yourself up depending on stage in your life, what you're trying to do. Right. You have a happiness set point too. You're always a certain level of happiness, but that's only about 70% of your emotions. There's about 30% of your emotions that you can fluctuate through your mind, through your intentions. So one has to make a decision. First and foremost, make a decision in the morning to be grateful. You wake up, thank God you're alive. If you can get to the point where you understand that you are not a victim, that God never does anything to us, he only does things for us, and that the Almighty loves us more than we could ever love our children. So if a person can raise themselves in that level of consciousness, knowing there's a God, knowing he's involved in the world, knowing that he's always orchestrating the world for my benefit, even if I don't understand the particular benefit, but I know it's happening for my benefit, then when you are at the airport and you mistakenly, leave your phone in the kiosk that you were checking in, and now you're standing in the line at TSA about to miss your flight, and you say, oh my gosh, my phone, I think I know where it was. There's a reason that happened, okay? There's a lesson to get out of that, right? So there's a lesson for you, but there's a reason it happened. Then you go back and they don't have your phone. Everything happens for a reason. You thought you were going to lease a house and the lease fell through. Everything, the Almighty is arranging it for your benefit. I mean, to the point that you open up your stock portfolio and you bought the bad stock and it dropped 20 grand and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? The Almighty's working for your benefit for that. You're not a victim. So it's very important to stop and realize I'm not a victim. I'm a one who, if I dedicate myself to the Almighty, then I am going to be a recipient of his tremendous love and kindness, however that comes out. So between the gratitude to other people, gratitude to the Almighty, knowing that I'm not a victim, understanding, right? These are very specific life attitudes that keep moving you forward. Another thing is a person has got to be an optimist. And, there's a different kinds of optimism. One kind of optimism is things are always going to work out the way I want. That is an immature optimism and incorrect. But if you have an attitude that that according to my free will decisions, everything's going to work out the best possible way for me as it can, that's a good thing, right? But again, that's a good thing. And the last point that I want to share with you now in regards to this question, specific things that you can do in order to make sure that you're living a joyful life, just lift it up, is you have to manage your expectations. And expectations are a very, very tricky thing, because if you expect a lot, you're going to always be disappointed. And even if you achieve what you were expecting, you won't be grateful for what happened. But if one manages their expectations, lowers their expectations, then they will less often be disappointed. And when good things do happen, they will be more grateful for them. You go into the hockey game, you're hoping your team wins. You can hope your team wins, but don't expect them to win. Hope for them to win, okay? When they win, you'll be happy, right? When you go into your business deal, and you should expect, you kind of should expect every morning when you go, every night when you go to sleep, to wake up the next morning, right? You should expect to wake up the next morning. That's a good thing. And you should anticipate a day filled with blessings. But don't go in with specific expectations that you're going to have a windfall, you'll be disappointed. And if things do happen, you'll just say, well, it was supposed to happen. Go in there saying, I am anticipating a life of blessings. I'm looking forward to the blessings. But don't keep it specifics, because when things happen, you have to realize you can find the blessing in every situation. Every situation has a silver lining and a good outcome, a good potential outcome. And so just keep looking for the good potential outcome in every situation.
Totally agree with you. Well, I have one other question. Do you intend to write another book in the future?
I do. I got several projects on the path. We'll stick with Life is Great. There's Life is Great through the weekly Parsha. The Jewish people, they take the 5 books of Moses, divide it in 54 different sections and read it every week. And it's called read 1 or 2 sections every week. So there's teachings in every page that teach you how to live a positive life and a good one. I have another project working that's Life is Great through marriage and family, and teaching people that if you have the right attitudes, you can live a much more happy life with your spouse, and you could be much more successful in transmitting your values to your children. Just on that note, I think that, children are tremendous joy and the tremendous pain. It's like, yeah, if you ask your mother, or ask any young mother, say, what's your biggest pleasure? My kids. Say, what's your biggest pain? My kids, right? If I asked my mother, what's your biggest pleasure? She'd say me. If I said, what's your biggest pain? She'd say your sister. Okay. But the key is that, again, that speaks to a concept we spoke of at the beginning when you asked, wait, I'm describing this living joyfully takes a lot of work. So again, the opposite of pain and pleasure, right? They're not opposites. So the idea, but you got to go through the pain in order to get the pleasure. So family, there's a lot in that. So I always teach people, if you want to transmit your values to your children, make sure you live a happy life. Happy people transmit their values to their children. And happy people have much more successful marriages. be a happier person, you'll have a more successful marriage, be a happier person, raise better kids. I don't think that happiness is the most important thing in life. I really don't think it is. I think goodness is a higher value than happiness. It just happens to be that if you're a happier person, you're going to be a better person.
I've enjoyed this so much. Affirmations about some of the things I already believe in, and you're able to say it in the words that I can understand, and I really appreciate that, and I know our listeners will too. So we have to kind of come to a close here. Unfortunately, I could talk to you for another hour.
Well, Karolyn, my pleasure whenever you want. It's your delight, and there's a lot of wisdom to explore. So thank you.
Thank you, Karolyn and Rabbi Wyne. That was a very uplifting and important interview. We'll be right back after a brief message.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life, and you'd like to share it with others. Go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory. Now here's Seth Kennedy with today's parting thoughts.
Today's guest has reminded us of a truth we often minimize. Life is great. No, it's not perfect. It's not always good. It is sometimes sad, sometimes bad. But life is great. The very fact that we are alive right now at this moment and have infinite possibilities is a miraculous thing indeed. What a gift. What a blessing. Let us all just pause for a moment and let the simple truth settle in. Life is great. It's a great day to be alive, and we are. Let us live today with appreciation and wonder.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you, and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out zuzunetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to zuzunetwork.com/transcripts. Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunel.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joel.
A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.